McNair gives it to George, running right up the middle. Touchdown! Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle!
The safety, now you're one-on-one with it.
Shows why he's the man! In trouble. Sack!
Ladies and gentlemen, Titan Nation, welcome back. We're breaking down the Tennessee Titans versus Chargers post game as the Tennessee Titans lose for the fourth straight game in a row, and is it panic mode? It looks like it in Nashville, Tennessee. I have my friend Paul Kauharsky here breaking down this game. How you doing, Paul?
I'm well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Yeah, no problem, man. Let's dive right into it because it's a hot mess. I mean, people are upset for the right reasons, right? It feels like this team is going backwards now. It's halfway through the season, only 3 more games left, and the Jaguars are right there, looking to take it to the Tennessee Titans. And I mean, this Titans team is injured, offensive line. Offense, I mean, you name it, it looks like there's a problem. Doesn't look like this is a playoff team, as Kevin Byard says. As of right now, they don't look like they can beat anyone. What's your quick take on the game?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty awful. I don't understand the 3rd and 2s. Henry was on the field for one of them. He wasn't on the field for the other one. They ran quick outs. Overthrew Robert Woods on one, underthrew Chig, Kwanku on the other. It doesn't make much sense to me against a bad running defense when you're still trying to establish that you're a physical team and you've got a major touchstone of that identity in Derrick Henry. Even with the offensive line struggling not to turn to him in those 2 situations to try to extend drives in the 3rd quarter. And so that was kind of symbolic to me of the fizzling physicality. And I thought it said a lot that they didn't turn to that. Now, of course, if they're successful on those plays, we're not talking about them. But,
yeah,
some of the feedback I've gotten is, you want that play, but if it doesn't work, you hammer us. Well, I think we hammer them less. If you go to the bread and butter and if you go to the franchise guy and it doesn't work, then you say, well, at least they're sticking to their identity and that's not working. But when you're doing something other than your bread and butter and that's not working, I think you're stretching yourself a little thinner.
Yeah, definitely. Again, Derrick Henry had 21 carries for 104 yards, a touchdown. I do believe. I was talking to a few people, and I was saying, like, I really think sometimes Titan fans can be a little bit into their own head. Sometimes they can be a little delusional, and I feel like if you saw what John Robinson did in the offseason, or what he didn't do, let me say, in the offseason, you could kind of tell what was going to happen down the line in the schedule, saying John Robinson didn't, we needed our needs for offensive linemen. We didn't get depth, or we let Roger Saffold go. We let a few key pieces go. I think a lot of people get stuck on having that record, being a number 1 seed last year, and that having it to roll over. And they're like, okay, well, we were a number 1 seed last year. Our offense was a little bit better. Our defense, I understand that, but I think people get into their heads. I think they get hoodwinked on, hey, well, guess what? It's not the same team. We're missing A.J. Brown, a big piece. You bring in, we get Treylon Burks, which doesn't really fill that need of a A.J. Brown, a Roger Woods, who's, again, just coming off an ACL injury, so we don't know, but we're putting all our chips on him. That wide receiver core is really thin and injury proven. So what do you get from there? And I mean, I saw that kind of coming. I was like, okay, this team can only hold up for so long, especially with the injuries don't help it. I mean, it is what it is, right? At this point, they're playing with what they got, and I think that's where we've come to at the end
And
of the season.
Robert Woods doesn't get any separation, and I don't know if that's part ACL recovery still,
Mhm.
or if it's just what he is at this stage of his career. But they're not dynamic on offense. They held the Chargers, who were pretty intent on running the ball and didn't really let Herbert let it loose, and the Titans did a pretty good job defending him. They held him to 17 points. That game's on the offense, and most of the season's been on the offense. The defense, particularly when Danico Autry's been in there, and they've gotten their rush from four guys, that's protected the secondary by hurrying the opposing quarterback, has done an admirable job most of the time. And it's been the offensive deficiencies that have killed them.
Yeah.
Some of it's the play calling of Todd Downing. Some of it's the limitations that are presented to Todd Downing by the personnel, which is a shaky offensive line, didn't have a good backup plan for Taylor Lewan, that needs a better backup plan for a guy that's been not the same since the initial ACL tear. They love Brewer, but he's undersized and gets bulldozed sometimes. Nicholas Petit-Frere is really getting off easily because he's the third worst guy, but he's not been terrific by any means. And so they've got two good offensive linemen in Ben Jones and Nate Davis, and a really slim wide receiver pool. It's just not enough going on offense. They're not dangerous enough. They don't scare anybody. And puts too much on the defense.
Yeah, definitely. And especially at this stage, I mean, Mike Vrabel has to just roll out of what he has. Yeah, he could switch, Radunz with Daly and this and that. But then again, the injury bug happens, and that's nothing you can do. Unfortunately, this team has been plagued with injuries, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons. Maybe if this team was, healthy enough, we could have a decent stretch. But as of right now, with the injuries and the talent they have right now in offensive line, I don't see us, beating the Texans. The Texans look like a hungrier team right now, look like the better, more physical team. But at the same time, I think the most important thing right now for the Titans is, just to kind of wing these couple games, wait till Jacksonville, and hopefully get enough people healthy again to try to make a playoff run. I mean, that's the only thing, right?
I mean, technically, it doesn't matter what they do the next 2 weeks if they get to that Jaguars game and win it. They clinch the division and they move on. But they're so broken right now that they need to figure out a way to win a game. I can't just expect to endure the next 2 weeks, whatever they bring, and then go down to Jacksonville on the final week of the season to find a way to win that game. Expect that to carry into the playoffs and win a game there. Where right now the matchup would be against the Ravens, and I think that may well hold. The Ravens have a lot of problems to deal with and sort through the next 3 weeks as well. But we know how the Ravens do at Nissan Stadium in the playoffs as well. So it's a mess right now. Look, and Vrabel's having troubles. He doesn't have a lot of answers. The team's not responding. It's a real low energy environment right now. But we shouldn't forget, John Robinson got fired for a reason. And this roster is not very good when it's healthy, and certainly when it's not healthy, there's not a lot of depth there. If you look at what the Chargers did, they're missing Derwin James and Bosa and Rashawn Slater, and the guys that replaced those three guys made plays. So everybody in the league is missing somebody. Virtually everybody in the league is missing some key pieces. How well do you replace those guys is the question. And the Titans have been a good plug and play team, but it can only take it so far. And you're calling on some guys that just aren't qualified. Yeah,
100%. And you have to give the Chargers, their credit. I mean, they came in. To be honest with you, I thought it was going to be not as close. I didn't think the game was going to be as close as it was. Again, Herbert threw for 42 attempts, 313 yards, 2 interceptions. I had Kevin Byard pick him off. We had Roger McCreary at the end with the little tip in halftime. Good good positive things, I guess, looking forward. If you want to kind of look past the negative, kind of look to see what, I mean, some spark or what's, or I mean, we still have a couple,
There's no looking past the negative for this team right now with
right?
the 4 losses, and they found different ways to lose. It's not like Vrabel was asked Tuesday, if there's some common thread, and he kind of ran through the 4 games, came up with 4 different storylines. So that's kind of the problem. There's not one big fix or one big re-addition who's going to fix things. Though Danico Autry can certainly help, but I think the injury list this week's going to be awful. And look, they lost to Houston at home last year.
Yeah.
Texans, as you're indicating, just played the Cowboys and the Chiefs really tough.
Yep.
And I won't be surprised if the Texans have more energy on the field, freezing field. It's going to be really cold on Saturday than the Titans do.
Yeah. Now, what did you think about Tannehill? Again, I think his decision to play against the Texans is kind of up in the air, but getting hurt and coming back and playing through it. A lot of people wanted Malik to stay in. A lot of people are nuts, and I don't agree with this about Malik playing the whole the rest of the season. Don't worry about Tannehill. I still don't think so. Mike Vrabel's mentality is to try to win as much the game as much as possible and give you our chances to win. And I still think with Ryan Tannehill being not completely 100% on that angle, I still think he gives us the better chance under QB to win a game.
I don't know why you want to see Malik now. Didn't you see Malik against Houston and Kansas City and how limited he is? He's not ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's not going to give him any kind of shot in the arm. He can barely complete passes. Certainly, he can't complete passes over the middle.
Yeah.
Their best chances to win are with Tannehill, and I know some people ridiculously decide, well, the season's over, don't play to win. Well, there are 53 guys, 48 guys on the field on Sunday who aren't going to, whether it looks like they're capable of winning or not, they're not going to go out there and not try to win. And Mike Vrabel certainly isn't going to not try to win. They've got still the division in their grasp, even if they lose 2 out of the next 3. And their mission's to go to the playoffs and see what happens. Everybody's mission, if you can get in the playoffs, is to get in the playoffs and see what happens. And that's what they'll try to do. Anybody that thinks they're going to do something else, that put the gear in neutral and start thinking about next season just doesn't understand how it works.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Like I said, Twitter, you can get lost in Twitter. And I was just reading some of the comments. People were just saying, just put Malik. Malik looked better than Tannehill. And I'm just like, man, that's wild.
Well, he played one series. He didn't do anything. Got an intentional grounding.
Tell me how you really feel, Paul. Tell me how you really feel. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild just to hear some people's just perspective on the game. But I mean, like you said, we did hold Eckler to 58 yards, only 12 carries. So that we did good. I mean, the only problem was towards the end of the game, while the offense finally, did enough to actually score, defense kind of lets them get in field goal range within 30 seconds. And they obviously beat us.
That's what good teams with really good quarterbacks do. Even though Herbert, wasn't at the top of his game throughout, he made enough throws, and then that 35-yarder to Williams against Greg Maben. And look, Greg Maben's been in and out, on and off of the roster for all the way back to 2020. Titans don't want to have to rely on Greg Maben. And he played a reasonably good game, but at a crucial moment against a big time guy with a big time quarterback, he let up a big time play, and it put the Chargers in field goal range, and there you have it. Now they got to figure out how not look. At least they're not getting a big time quarterback for the Texans, who are juggling 2 guys. Yeah, 2 guys. But they found a way to be competitive the last 2 weeks against good teams. So. The Titans don't qualify as good as the Cowboys or the Chiefs, certainly right now. And Houston's been on the verge of a win and is very hungry to get their second win of the season.
Definitely. Now, who's coming back that you think might be? I know that Mike Vrabel was talking about Treylon Burks at least showing signs of actually getting out on the field. I don't know if he'll play, but who do you expect coming back to the game?
It's too early to say. I mean, I would think Autry's got a good chance. I would think Burks has a good chance. But I think there are other guys who have a good chance of disappearing based off the injuries that they suffered. And, Tannehill could be one of them. So we've got to wait and see. We're talking here on Tuesday afternoon. There's an injury report coming out in a little bit. I think it's going to be really long.
Jeez, it's going to be Santa's naughty list, man. It's going to be rough. But any final words you want to say about the Titans or the Titans football game against the Chargers that you haven't said, that you want to get out there?
No, you've done a good job covering it. I think, I put out a poll on Twitter. Are the Titans going to lose the division? Last I looked at the results, it's about 53% said yes. So there's more faith out there than I expected. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but it's amazing to me that we're having this conversation. I thought the Titans were going to struggle against the better teams on their schedule, and I said that all the way through when they were beating bad teams. But then, to lose to the Jags, who have gotten better but aren't that good, and to lose the way that they've lost these last four, they're in a lot of trouble. Yep. And I don't know what's going to turn the tide or who's going to turn the tide, but whoever that is needs to step up. And I don't think it's a good sign when they're talking about, needing to be high energy when Derrick Henry's, mumbling and whispering the most that he's done all season. And I know, he doesn't need to be that high energy with the media, but symbolically didn't look good.
So quick question before I let you go. You said the poll. What do you believe the answer is for you? What do you think about the poll that you did? What's the answer to you?
I mean, I'm not a big predictor, but it's hard to, I just kind of base things on what I'm seeing. It's hard to see this team coming to life right now, but Mike Vrabel has led some pretty impressive victories, even shorthanded. And one of them was against the Houston Texans. So maybe he helps get them on track this week. But there are a lot of reasons to feel very badly about this team right now, obviously.
There we go. Well, again, thank you so much, PK, for coming on. Always appreciate your insight. That's what I love. We might not agree on everything. We might disagree. We might agree. But it's always good to have another person's perspective. And so I appreciate your work, man. And we'll see what happens next week, right? For this week.
Thanks for the invite. Good to be with you. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Have a good one, buddy.
Take care.